So The Weeknd finally dropped his album yesterday, After Hours. It's been a year and a half ago since he dropped his EP, My Dear Melancholy, something like that. But really what drove a lot of people to The Weeknd was in the early 2010s, which was his breakout, when he released a trilogy, which was House of Balloons, Echoes of Silence, and I forgot the other one. But those mixtapes really put him in the radar because of his lo-fi production, different it was. At the same time, it was kind of dark and lo-fi. So a lot of people liked him because of that. And then he started releasing more albums, but those albums were a little bit more mainstream, a little bit more radio friendly, and he wasn't getting that many scores like he was in his previous albums. Not a lot of people are liking it that much as they did originally with his first albums. And finally, he's returned with After Hours. The singles teasing for this album were pretty good. Heartless, which featured his trap drums and production by Metro Boomin, and also showing this character, they look like a gangster with this little outfit that he had. I think was pretty funny, those glasses that he had and all. He was showcasing different elements. He had this synthesizers, he had these trap drums, and it was clear that he's heading for an 80s vintage style. And also when he dropped Blinding Lights, which focused more on that vintage style, and yeah, he was leaning more to that type of production, that type of style. And then later he released After Hours, a teaser self-titled single, catchy synth, but at the same time having a really dark tone in the beginning. The track, it was the longest single that he released, and also the longest track in this album itself, at 6 minutes of length. So how is After Hours? Is it good? Is it bad? Well, I can clearly say that this album is a full return to Abel. Definitely it does have some of the lo-fi elements. It isn't completely lo-fi, but it also combines the 80s 90s synthesizer, sometimes with some trap drums and all, as I was saying, but he kind of makes his own sound with this album. In this album we still get to hear those druggy sex lyrics that he's lays here. I mean, it's kind of his style at this point. We still get to hear more of that in this album. In the first track, Alone Again, Abel talks about wanting to not be alone again because he fears that he's going to overuse substances. He fears that it's going to take it to an extreme whole level. He fears it's going to overdo the Molly and all that stuff, and he wants the person that he loves to help him and to save him from that addiction. In this track we get to hear a lot of these synthesizers. It sounds slow, it sounds dark, it sounds atmospheric, feels dreamy at the same time. In Too Late, he talks about the person that he loves being too late to save him from the substances, and he's already took them and he's already kind of messed up with it already. This track, ironically, with that little dark message that it has, it's kind of funky, it's kind of catchy. The chorus is really addicting to me. I like how beautiful the synth lays are, the drums kind of feel like dance hall a bit. In Hardest to Love, Abel tells that the girl that he loves is not loving him that much. She's slowly losing interest in him, and that he admits that it's really hard to love him with all the stuff that he's doing, mostly with the substances that he's overdoing. And then Hardest to Love nicely transitions to Scared to Live. I love the transition. This one is a little bit more R&B-ish. This one is slower. I like the tempo in this one. It is really nice. I think the track is pretty good. In this track, Abel continues talking about the girl that he slowly losing interest in him, and he also talks about either way that he is realizing that he still wants to be with her, he still sticks with her. He also admits mistakes to her, and also tells the girl to not be scared to find yourself. In Snowchild, we get to hear more of this gangster persona, because, you know, on the cover of the album he has like this little red jacket and all, and the glasses. He looks like a gangster kind of, and also the blood that's dripping in his face. In Snowchild, we get to hear more of him talking about his past, talking about him taking care of his family a lot, how he did a lot to help his family, how important he was for them. He talks about his wealth, and he also talks about wanting to escape the wealth and all that stuff because he feels like it's just not right for him. Also in Snowchild, we hear these trap drums again, piano that's playing, I believe. Overall, I thought it was okay, didn't necessarily bring my attention that much. And Escape from LA, one of the darkest moments in this album, he talks about wanting to escape LA because LA brought him this addiction that he has to the substances, and also the wealth that is getting him more corrupt. But he can't leave because he feels he's distracted by his girl, that she always keeps coming back to him even though he kind of wants to separate with her. Vocals are more reverb, it feels really atmospheric. I mean, a lot of vibes from House of Balloons, how he did it with What You Need and all the stuff that was in House of Balloons as well. As I was saying, his vocals are reverby, the whole beat is dreamy and all, it's kind of psychedelic. And also what I like about this track is that it transitions to the outro part where he talks about the girl that is always distracting him, and also the beat slightly changes. The first single for this album features, as I was saying in the beginning, these trap drums and these little synthesizer melodies that plays. Metro Boomin produced this beat. I think it's refreshing. I also like the little bass line that he lays in some parts, the dark little bass line that he has here. He talks about being heartless and that all the wealth, all the money is taking over him, and also that he is going to turn to his old ways, going back to his addiction, and also not being able to combat the addiction and the wealth himself. In Faith, which is also one of the most darkest moments as well in this album, he talks about losing all his faith, feeling insecure, and also saying that he was sober for a whole year, goes back to abusive substances and all, and just feeling insecure. And he also knows how much it will hurt this girl, but he still decides to abuse the substances. In the end, we get to hear these sirens, and then his verse talking about that he's seeing flashing lights and he's in the back of the car, which definitely describes an ambulance. This probably hints that he OD'd, or he nearly OD'd and he took too much. I think this is a pretty smart track because of how dark this track is, how reverby it is, and how it shows that he took it to a whole new level. In Blinding Lights, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. He feels that he's blinded by the lights. He feels that he sees this place that it's dark, that it's lonely, that's isolated, that's like kind of Sin City. I like that reference because Sin City is always all black and white. This could probably hint that the drugs are taking effect in his mind, that he feels corrupted already and that he's hallucinating, and also feels lonely without his girl, without the person that he loves. In Your Eyes, we get to hear more of Abel saying that she's starting not to like him at all. He can literally just tell in his eyes that she's just sick of him at this point, and also he decides to split up with her. What I like about In Your Eyes, even though the lyrics are like super dark and all that stuff and just super sad, is that the beat is super groovy. I like it. It takes some elements from Starboy sort of, and also matches it up with some of Daft Punk's previous work. I think it's pretty fun. The beat, I like how funky it is, how groovy it is, how in the one part we get to hear the saxophone playing. I think it's pretty smooth, and overall I think the beat is pretty enjoyable. Save Your Tears is also a pretty dark moment in here. I wasn't a huge fan of this track, both lyrically and just instrumentally. He basically says that he found the girl by coincidence in a party, and that when she gets to see him, she gets kind of like to get tears because she still kind of has feelings for him, but she acts like he's not around. But she tries to avoid him like just he doesn't exist, and he can tell that. Save Your Tears is a pretty slow track as well. It's kind of reverb, ambience, I guess, type of a beat. In Repeat After Me Interlude, we get to hear Abel saying that he will apologize to her if he repeats the words, which were "you care for me and you're with him, but you still just don't care about him, you still have feelings for me." So that's what he's trying to say in that track. Production in here, I think he feels pain in his voice. He feels like so much sorrow in here. Also, the beat and the pitch down vocals, it just sounds pretty dark, pretty ambient, which was the final single teasing with this album. He talks more about wanting to sleep, but he can't since his girl kind of left him, and that he just doesn't feel, he feels insecure. He feels like his house is not a home anymore without her. And he also talks about the nightmares that still haunt him. And he discusses about his mistakes and wanting to be better than what he did, wanting to just be a whole new person, wanting to just start a whole new life with her, and just trying to reset himself. Until I Bleed Out, which is the final track in this album, and probably the darkest one in here. He talks about wanting to cut the dreams, wanting to cut the addiction, trying to get it out of his system. I can't be wrong, he can probably be referencing the girl, who knows, but he says, "I want to cut you out of my system." And in the end of the track, he talks about not wanting to be addicted anymore. He wants to take it out of his system. He wants to take all the substances out of his system. He wants to be clean. He wants to be new. And what I also like is that the pitch down vocals again here, that are kind of reverby and ambient, kind of sound scary and spooky, probably trying to replicate what he's feeling in his mind after all the substances that he took, and after trying to fight over the things that are haunting him. I think it's pretty serious, pretty smart what he's trying to do here. I think it's a great track. It's a pretty serious track as well. And yeah, overall the album is a solid album. I like how he tackles on with the addiction parts, even though we get to hear this in his material like in House of Balloons and all that stuff, but I feel like in this album he goes deeper in that. Serious, it's more, I guess, aggressive, I guess you could say. Just, you can feel the emotion of his voice in some tracks, that he feels it just until he feels like he wants to get rid of his system, like Until I Bleed Out, like After Hours and Scared to Live. It feels like he just wants to get out of his system, like he's combating this thing, like he doesn't want it but he needs to take it because of the depression that he's facing every time his girl leaves him, and how it's kind of like an on-off relationship with him, and how it just feels pretty sad and just depressing. But yeah, I think Abel did a pretty good job, and here's what I was saying, the production is pretty good. I like the little 80s 90s inspired production this thing has. It services more on that. There are some tracks where it feels more dance hall, I guess you could say, more leaning more in that part. There were some tracks in here that I felt that were okay, but most of the tracks in here were actually pretty good. As I was saying, it's a darker view on substances and all, and I just like that little feeling that he incorporates in this album as well. After Hours is kind of like a mystery of a title. Maybe he's trying to say like the after hours of his addiction. The after hours is kind of like feeling that he's almost at the verge of dying. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Be sure to hit the like button down below. Also remember to subscribe, turn notifications on, and stay safe with the coronavirus. Wash your hands. Be safe, guys. Stay at home. Yeah, I know this sucks, the quarantine stuff, but just please stay at home. Avoid to catch it. Lots of people die with this. I don't want you guys to die with this. Be safe with your families, and yeah, peace out.